Breaking news for you right now in the movie theater tragedy. The prosecution is giving up its fight to see the notebook that suspect James Holmes mailed to a psychiatrist. And Holmes will now face 10 additional charges. All of this happening within the past hour. So it's breaking news and breaking very fast. 7 News reporter Marshall Zellinger just stepped out of the courthouse for us, and he's going to fill us in now. Marshall?
Yeah, Bertha, prosecutors giving up that fight, as you said. They're no longer seeking to see the contents of that notebook that theater shooting suspect James Holmes sent to the CU psychiatrist, Dr. Lynn Fenton. That does not mean that prosecutors don't want to see the contents. In court today, prosecutors said that if the defense pleads not guilty by a mental health reason, that the contents of that notebook will then become evidence in the case and they'll get to see it one way or the other. James Holmes also charged with new counts, although they were not read in court today. However, we should know what these new counts are likely after lunch when we get our hands on the document describing what the new counts are and some counts that have been amended, changed slightly. The defense, however, did not want those counts read in court. Some of the things we learned in court today is that the prosecution wants to get more samples from James Holmes, DNA samples and fingerprints. According to the prosecution, the only DNA they have of Holmes is what's known as the Katie's Law sample. Whenever you are arrested and suspected of a felony, your DNA is taken and held in case you are convicted of a felony. And if you are convicted, then that DNA is tested to see if you are a suspect in another crime that's been unsolved. Well, the prosecution wants to get its own DNA sample to compare to DNA that was collected at the scene at the movie theater. They also want to get more fingerprints and a palm print from Holmes because, according to the prosecution, they have a palm print taken from inside the movie theater, inside the exit door, that they want to compare to Holmes himself. Now, the appearance of Holmes, you've seen the sketches, you've seen the video of the wild hair, the colored hair. Today, a completely different Holmes, more clean cut in his appearance, a haircut like, similar to mine, actually, very close cropped, brown, no more colored in the hair. A completely different look that we saw, Bertha, of James Holmes at this hearing 2 months now after the shooting.
Interesting, Marshall. I was just about to ask you about his appearance. What was his demeanor in court? And was there anything different, or did anything stand out in the way he acted?
I will say, when he walked in, I had to do a double take that I didn't know who I was looking at first, that it really was Holmes. When he sat down, the first thing I noticed, and Tyler Lopez was also in court as well, I noticed that he was doing that wide-eyed look that we saw in the video of his very first court appearance, that he kept opening his eyes wide, had some facial tics. Tyler saw someone who was more focused in court and was attentive to the ongoings of what was happening. Toward the end of the hearing, and the hearing lasted about an hour and 10 minutes, I saw something I hadn't seen before, where he was actually making eye contact with the gallery. He kind of turned to the side, looked out of the corner of his eye, and made eye contact with some of the victims in the crowd, and then he turned 90 degrees completely around and looked at members of the media before he was got up and walked out of the courtroom after the 70-minute hearing. And again, this was a hearing we expected to be in for the long haul all day, because we thought the contents of that notebook was going to be argued. We were going to hear more witnesses, but once the prosecution gave up on that fight, assuming that they're going to see this evidence anyways, it was a short hearing today.
It took a lot of people by surprise. We appreciate your update for us. Thanks. That's Marshall Zellinger.